everyone. I just came back from a walk in the woods and a little swim in the lake. And on the way back, I was thinking a lot about Camody Gray's The Ethical Basis of Civil Resistance. And I want to talk about it from my perspective. I think it's not anything new. It's just trying to reflect and understand what she's saying. So I want to start by one of the most important things that I learned from listening to the talk and from my own struggles, which is that humans are not creatures of facts, but creatures of love. So I myself, since I'm an adult, try to follow the path of technological literacy, because technology is a shaping cultural technique that we have, and it leads to our thinking being based on quantification also. Technological literacy is like a standard that you should have to be able to, contribute to certain discourses. And it also gives data a very high value, data and statistics. In science, no doubt, important, because we should base our knowledge on the things that we can prove. Data seems the most adequate thing, at least if we compare it also to something very subjective like emotions or feelings, instincts. What we forget by that is that we by ourselves are not creatures that trust in data and facts. Statistics are there to be faked, aren't they? And we are much more creatures of love, of values that we have, defend, that change, that, come together when we form groups. Me, as a climate activist, for example, I decided I won't fly anymore 2 or 3 years ago. But I flew this year. I flew because it was very important to me, and the reason I flew from one country to another was so important that it wasn't a question anymore that in this case I will use an airplane. So this just as one simple example. We don't act because we know facts. I mean, that should be clear, no? We know about climate crisis since the 70s. And also, again, quoting Gray, the time that we knew that we are harming the planet, we destroyed it more than the sum we destroyed it before. So the knowledge of destroying it didn't at all keep us from stopping or changing. And now another part of what I'm thinking about is what makes us act, what makes us think something is worth protecting. Again, as she says, it's not that we lack a love for nature. Actually, nature it's a very big thing. Already in this very manipulative sphere of advertisement, we see so many advertisements targeted towards the beauty of nature. And I don't only talk about the greenwashing, more about what do we really want as an intact nature. So it's not the lack of love for nature. Then what is it then? I will come to that again, just repeating what Camody Gray said. So it's not the lack of love for nature, but also if we want to protect something, if we want to act, if something is worth for us to risk something, it's never just a fact. It's always bound to some kind of emotion, one or the other. So the mere fact that I know that somebody is in pain, that somebody is hungry, the mere fact that I know that millions of lives will end because of climate collapse, just these facts don't make me act. As soon as I get an emotional connection to that, they become worth fighting for. So the question is also, what do we have emotional connections to? What do we want to save? And what is worth saving, what is worth for us to risk, what is worth for us to say, okay, the trees outside are still green, the lake I was swimming in is still nice, people are still swimming there, it will be like this tomorrow, even though we know scientifically that it won't be like that. So what is the thing that makes me want to save this? And back now to what I learned from the knowledge that Comedy Gray was sharing, it is a lack of love for ourselves, for humans, or for humans as a species. And maybe you already see where I'm getting at. There are so many narratives about us being like cancer, like a virus. We are these destroyers. It would be better if humans wouldn't be around anymore. Like, why should we have an extinction rebellion if being extinct would be so much nicer for the planet? By the way, extinction is not only about human extinction, also a lot of species, like 150 per day that are dying already. Side fact. So the question is more, are we worth saving? Do I think that I, as part of the human species, am worth saving from the catastrophes that are about to come, that are already happening, that are already affecting millions of people? Well, this is not an easy question to answer from one day to another. But having the question as part of our cultural, everyday things we do could be a nice way to acknowledge that we're not necessarily bad for the environment. We are part of nature, and we I don't know, we do cool things, we make art, we talk, we learn from each other, we are the only species that can reflect itself. I mean, that's just a very subjective list that I can start. Yeah, so these questions about why we are here, what makes us worth protecting as a species, is important, should have a greater value, in my opinion, in whatever we do, be it more in conversations, being learning about it, putting sciences that have this as a focus, again, more into the middle of our society, and as Comedy Gray says, not sidetrack it. Philosophy, for example, asking questions about our existence. Yeah. And the more we are facing extinction events, and the irreversible ones that are already taking up place will happen in the next 2 or 3 years. So, little time for a lot of things to change. But again, if something's becoming so important to me that I want to change it, I will from one day to the other. And it won't be only me. It will be something that I feel in my surroundings. The next thing is that this cognitive dissonance between the panic we should be in and the state we are, and we are not talking, but there is this underlying fear, which is totally natural. If the fear is already there in society because we want to live, we want our kids to live, we want our loved ones to live, we want to have trees with leaves on and not dried out forests in the future, or so much methane in the air that we don't even know what it will affect. Yeah, so that was my go on being creatures of love, not facts. Why it's important to love ourselves and how that will lead to action. Thank you.